Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm Paige with Hardy Realtors, but I'm also the education chair. And my partner, Sarah, left. Anyway, she's here. She's my co-chair. And we definitely appreciate you guys for coming. Thanks, Tom, for the awesome food.
Yes.
Still, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have gotten it. Okay. So there you go.
I'll take all the credit.
I'm also 9 months pregnant, so there's that.
I can't take credit for that.
Pregnancy brain.
That's that guy down here. So we have an awesome speaker, Anna Maria. She's going to talk about self-development. It's going to be engaging instead of just her just talking to you like a robot. So get ready to fill out some stuff and have fun for the next hour.
Yeah. Hey y'all, nice to meet you. So I got a chance to come around and chat with each of you briefly, and I just want to say first thank you for having me. To be in a group of humans who are really interested in their personal growth enough to come and collaborate together is next level. So I want to first say congratulations to you guys for going a step beyond in your development. Don't mind my piece of squirrel that I have right here. So I'm really here to first invite you to come in and settle in as you are. I see you're very comfortable eating your lunches. If at any point this is a collaborative space, you want to stand up, you want to hang out and not be in your seat, please feel free to make it your own space, okay? Also, I just want to share with you, as a growth coach, I work with clients on a one-on-one basis and in small groups, employee development programs, and I also work as a movement specialist. So I've been over the last decade, beyond the last decade, with my kinesiology background, been working with clients in body and mind development, essentially. And then taking this inward and what that development of self-efficacy truly is. Currently what I'm doing in my private coaching practice is really an iteration of what I've been doing for beyond the last decade. So it's a pleasure for me to share this with you. Our basic agenda today is going to be connecting a little bit to kick it off on talking a bit about burnout, what that means, how that's impacted each of you and where you are today. And then a little bit of personal development, skill building. Our short goals are going to be as well to acquaint you a little bit with what coaching is and what that looks like on the inside. And I just want to make space for your voice to be here as well. Let's see. So touching in, Sydney talked a little bit about burnout. At the Women's Professional Circle last month, I connected into what this space is like. We know that it has a cost. We know that it impacts our physical being, how we're being in our relationships. And oftentimes it's less about the expanse of all of the things that we're managing, and it's more about our inability to stop and check in with ourselves. So we went through the whole gamut, and that's available for you on the YouTube as well as far as a recording goes, if you want to dig into that a little bit deeper. But we know that the cost of burnout underneath it all is an unwillingness to really look at the things that are hindering our forwarding. And when we stop and we resist, we have this situation where we go a plethora of different directions. We blame other people for it by default. We complain about what's happening that's outside of our control. And oftentimes we build up defenses just because it's automatic. It's built in our sophisticated brain. And these neural pathways, the way that our brain works, is just stuff that's built in. It's auto responses. Historically, I'm pretty hard on myself. And so it's been a journey to kind of recalibrate, look a little bit deeper sometimes when I need to check myself on my own behavior, on my own personal development. But it's a journey worth taking is what I'm saying. Talking a little bit about imbalance and course correcting. And I just kind of want to start here as we lean in and talk about burnout and then move on to the application and getting into bringing real tools into your life. When we talk about course correcting, and just a moment ago when I was talking about our sophisticated brain, behavioral science and neuroscience is jumping off right now. I don't know how many different resources you all use, podcasts and the like. You know, maybe somebody's caught a Brene Brown thing here and there. But what it's teaching us right now is that behavior change is really quite simplistic. oftentimes it feels overwhelming when we're in a situation and we can't move directionally towards the things that we want. We might have patterns that are in place and behaviors that just kind of are like a knife in our back. Stuff that we don't know that we can stop. Responses to other conditions that are happening in our lives. Depression, anxiety, these typical patterns that sometimes have been present for a long time and we don't know how to unearth them. We have some more friends coming in. But the truth is, when we look at neuroscience and what's happening right now, it's pretty promising because it talks to us a little bit about where we are in our current behavior model and how to throw a spoke in the wheel when we have a shoddy situation and we want to create change. So we're going to touch on that as well today. So really quick, I just want to pop over here. Just 2 times today, I'm going to spend some time over here. And now some of y'all are really familiar with the personal development work, and others, it's not going to be your mojo, and that's fine, right? I want it to be a space where you have an opportunity to learn one thing, pick one thing off, and then acknowledge that we all have something to learn. So when we're in a situation and we're in distress, and those algebraic thinking friends of mine, and we do not cultivate a compassion practice, and some of you might be asking, what is a compassion practice? We will talk about that. This is what equals your state of burnout. So yes, we have circumstances that are beyond our control. We have grief and loss and an abundance of it coming back from this year. And when we don't give ourselves the opportunity to tap into compassionate practice, attuning ourselves to what we are experiencing personally, we can't change the behavior. We get overwhelmed. We automatically jump into a state of burnout, right? So the idea to really come to the other side is that empathy, checking in with yourself, basic concept, this can just be a level of awareness, which I am going to get into more today, plus the compassion practice is going to take you to a state of fulfillment faster. This is not just like a woo-woo concept. As I was saying, if you get into neuroscience and what's happening right now in the world, you recognize, even in National Geographic, they're talking about meditation, the benefits of it. They're putting leads on people's brains and acknowledging the permanent benefits of coming in, of breathing and creating and calming your internal system that you navigate with. So before I go on, I just kind of want to check in with you, see if there's any questions you have about this so far. And I really want to make space for your voices to be in the space today too. All right, so basic concept, right? Sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging to jump into, but one of the ways that we lead is through embodiment. And that word is a little bit foreign sometimes if you haven't gone into the physical movement and connection world. But embodiment is essentially checking into what your physical experience is. So often, I'm really heady, and I like to get things done. I'm a doer, okay? But oftentimes, that kind of thing can get in our own way. When we come to a place of embodiment and we actually acknowledge what we're experiencing physically, sensations, temperature, where you hold different trauma, different experiences in your body, this is kind of like a gateway to being able to release and open and acknowledge yourself to different forward actions. So again, empathy plus compassion practice is what is really leading to fulfillment. So last time, Women's Professional Circle, I talked about the 3 Ps, and I threw this together for them because, you know, when you're in a situation where you need to collect yourself, have some tools for forwarding, it's just good to have something at your fingertips. So my 3 Ps were pause, which means that you're just simply checking in with yourself, breathing, coming to attunement, and really gaining an awareness for the embodiment and what you're experiencing in that moment. Naming it, what it is that you're feeling, which a lot of us either want to defend or deflect instead. And it can be a brave process to just like pause and acknowledge what you're feeling in that moment. And then the second one is just to prioritize. So then you do a recalibration. What do I really truly need to focus my time on right now? What's really bubbling up to the surface in terms of what I have to do? I call it my must-dos instead of my may-dos. So my must-dos in that moment are going to be, you know what? I have a 14 and a 12-year-old. I need to get my kids off to school today. I might be dealing with a big grief situation in my life, but this is what I need to do right now, and then I have 2 clients in the afternoon. Everything else becomes peanuts. Do you know what I'm saying? That's true prioritization. So number 1 is pause, number 2 is prioritization. And then number 3 is personal responsibility and progress. And as I was saying, we love to deflect sometimes, and we need oftentimes for someone to jump in with us and call us a little bit on our BS moment. So this is a moment for you to call yourself on it. What am I experiencing? How largely is it impacting me and the people around me? What do I truly need to prioritize and focus on right now? And then last but not least, how am I going to hold myself accountable and responsible for this? So personal responsibility and progress looks like, okay, at the end of the day, you made it through, and now what do I need to do to make sure that I can support myself here, resources, or to make sure that I can withstand and support myself for the rest of this week so that I can actually thrive versus just survive. Yeah? 3 Ps, basic stuff. Okay. So we know that during the pandemic, and of course prior to that, I can imagine you've all had several professional lives. We have had so much change happening with our professional abilities and roles. And especially returning to the workforce, the dynamics change when you come back, how people are withstanding the change, how they've thrived, how they aren't. And this is like a really dynamic pool of experience in a professional setting. What I want to say, though, is in terms of fulfillment, it's really important that we identify ourselves, who we are, separate from what we do. We get so attuned to chasing what we're doing next and getting the focus on what we want to achieve professionally, that oftentimes, professionally and just through your career experience, and then oftentimes when something falls in that realm, your whole worthiness is up for grabs because everything that you are, you've assigned to this. So this is where the personal development work comes in. And as I said, I know it's unfamiliar sometimes for some of you, but then when you really start asking yourself how well you're thriving independently outside of those realms, you get to evaluate what you want to lean into, yes? But again, your worthiness is not up for grabs when you are affirmed in what you are doing, in who you are, living according to your value system, and really playing to your strengths. You have a vision and you have goals and attunement that you're accustomed to, that you're tapping into. You have resources at your fingertips, yeah? But then when you have a situation where you're just working for a professional development in a career that likely you've put so much into and things shift and change, it can really put all of you up for grabs. So I just want to identify the difference in creating a parallel, a separateness between those 2 bits. Okay, so I am going to take it over to the board. I'm going to ask for you to jump in. Basic stuff, friends, but guess what? Regardless of who I'm working with professionally, I know that your title truly doesn't matter. Everybody in the end is just human and with the same set of humanity issues that we're all facing. So, I want to ask you, when you are living directly fulfilled and aligned with yourself, what does it look like? How do you know?
You're happy.
Okay. What else?
Probably calmer.
Calm. Peace. Patient.
My life is going well.
Okay. What else?
Low anxiety.
Yep. What was that? Low stress. What else? Go on.
Great ability to sleep.
Yes, sleep.
Creative.
Creative. Yep.
Healthy. Is that right?
Healthy. Yeah, health practices, health. I know there's more.
Energetic.
Energy.
Sexually driven.
Yes. Bring it all. Bring all of yourself today. Yep. I know there's more. So interestingly, we look at a lot of these, and when you separate these concepts into being and doing, kind of a big concept, but like when you're just being and not actionably pursuing anything, that one's in between. What? Confident, yeah. This is still a way of being.
Self-motivated.
Yeah, motivated. Yeah, that's awesome.
Clarity.
Yeah, beautiful.
Brave.
Which means that your reach is bigger. Yeah. And you start looking at these words and you notice that it's a lot of being. This is not like, I mowed my lawn, I planned a vacation, right? And so what you realize is when you're in a state of fulfillment, and let's just call this living in alignment, you're focused on, as a group, what you're experiencing internally. So then why do we press away from like all of the personal development lean in when we know that this is what our fulfillment looks like? It's a really good question, isn't it? So I call this above the line. When I talked about that, I'm going to pause there. This is called above the line, okay? And this is a good visual for you to remember because now we're going to go below. So tell me what's below the line.
You're grouchy.
Yep.
Lazy. Anger.
Aggression.
I spend too much. Bad judgment. Lazy.
Irritable. Surrounding yourself with annoying people. Looking at them.
Fog.
High anxiety. Careless.
Like selfish. You don't think about anyone else.
Overwhelmed.
Just want to be alone.
Can you stick to the process?
Oh, yeah.
Those are all the things that I have around here.
Isolated. How about your listening? What's your listening like when you're down here?
Sorry, was that?
Unfocused? Yeah, lack of focus.
Angry. Anger's on there already.
Where do you feel it in your body? Like just getting in here? Can you just throw it out? Like what do you?
Headaches.
Headaches. Yeah.
Zits start to come.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, depression.
Jittery.
Yeah, jittery.
Not family focused.
Yeah, so that's a pretty crappy place to be. And you can almost feel it like when we get into the pool of that, like you're just like, blah, isn't it?
Everyone goes back to their, like, when they felt it before.
Yeah. So that's below the line. And the reason why this is really cool is because you can check in with yourself. Remember I was talking about that pause earlier? You can stop at pause, and we all have different creative strengths. I'm a super visual person. If you give me something visually, I see your name, it's like in my mind, right? If I sketch something, draw something, it could stay with me forever. A picture on vacation, something I'm in front of. Others of us, our minds work in different ways. It's important for you to figure out for you what system is going to work. So if you know that you're in a poop storm and you're like, not feeling good, like what can I do? Just doesn't feel right. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna try that 3Ps thing. And you come to pee and you say, pause. You take a deep breath and you check in with yourself and how you're feeling. If you're a visual person, you can just go back to above the line, below the line. And you can say, yep, I'm pretty shoddy and I think like I'm just here. Or you know what, I'm like super in deep, right? But the way that the reason why we use this is not because I know you have a million resources at your fingertips. But the difference between having resources and being able to learn really important tools, change the inner landscape of yourself and carry it forth for permanent lasting change is when you make this stuff directly apply to you. It's not just continually taking in information. And I'm like a self-help junkie. So I love behavioral everything. Give me a Brene Brown podcast and a walk with my pooch and I'm stoked. I'm easy. But the point is, you have to have a way to create tools that you can tangibly use so that you can interrupt that neural pathway I was talking about earlier. So you can throw a spoke in the wheel and change behavior change. And when you do that and you do it repetitively, that's when you create a new trajectory for yourself. And it's just really simple tools, right? If you're all flying high, a couple of you in here, and you're like, I'm living at 100 anyways, I don't need any of this. Kudos to you. But I bet pretty damn sure at some point, through some challenge, there's going to be something that's going to present itself. So I hope this can be a tool to you. The reason why it's important as well is because when we personalize this, we can pull ourselves out of it. So I know, you know what, I'm identifying I'm below the line. I'm feeling shoddy, and I want to pull myself up. Now you're like, how? Right? So if you don't have the next tools for how, it can be challenging. We're going to talk about values work. And that's where I want you to keep this visual of these little dots on a line here. And I want to share with you some of mine. And how they work. So I've worked with coaches for a long time to my own benefit. Of course, I've had therapy as well, which I also recommend. But I want to normalize giving yourself tools to survive and to thrive. And I've worked, and these will probably change for me. You know, I didn't share too much of my personal life with you earlier because my heart was beating fast, but I have 2 kids, 14 and 12. I have a husband who's a fire captain. Trust me when I tell you I have an abundance of stress in my own life to manage. I also have my own private coaching practice, which is a place of both fulfillment and of service for me. So that is like a source of creativity, right? But my point is, I go below the line and I need my own tools and I actively use them. And they're freaking lifesavers. So recently, Vitality. I'm on a road trip with my family to Mammoth and my back went out. And I'm an active woman. I know Jen and Paige in the community and they know I love to move. So you take my movement from me and it's not going to be pretty. I really love to get out and exercise, move my body. But this word for me, if I defined it, it's about a deeper awareness for health. The ability to move my body and the energetic positivity and lightness that I get to experience from within. You might call that something else, but that's what it is for me. So when I'm below the line and I'm on the road trip on 7 days of steroids, super fun and not irritable at all, in a car with 4 humans going across the state, I'm like, whew, this is not cool. I am for sure feeling stagnant. I'm for sure below the line. And I get to ask myself, what am I stepping on? What part of myself am I stepping on right now, or what's not working? I'm totally incapacitated by this injury. Which one of my values and super important aligned values and focus areas in my life is it stepping on? It's stepping on my vitality. So I'm like, that sucks. I talked to my husband about it. I'm in the car. I've realized this. And he's like, babe, I know. Sorry. But guess what? Nobody's lifelining me out of that. I got to do that work myself, right? So then I create a pathway forward. You know, what do I need to do? I need to reach out to PT. I need to look at some different Eastern med solutions because nobody's helping me at the doctor's office. And I need to get back to creating my own training program again. Because again, nobody else is going to do that for me. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So let's talk a little bit more. Any questions about that so far? That was a little juicy.
Question. Sometimes, like with your pizza, you just need to pause and like be in the shitstorm for a little while.
Yeah. Good
Sometimes
point.
you, like try to get out, and it's just like.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to be in the shit.
Yeah.
Can't get out too fast.
Yeah, like give myself 20 minutes to just feel like shit.
Absolutely.
Aside from the shit.
And maybe even a whole day,
Sometimes.
right? Absolutely. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. So glad you brought that up, Jen, because I don't want to amplify the concept that you're like, oh, dealing with that shitstorm and you need to yank yourself out so quick and get out of it. Just looking at that as tools, but absolutely, particularly depending on the trauma, the grief, the circumstance that you're dealing with, it takes time. And that comes back to that ability to be able to reconnect with what you are experiencing and to name it. And that takes a lot of courage and bravery, especially for people who aren't attuned to identifying with emotional language. You know what I'm saying? Like culturally as well, not all of us have been raised in a way or in an environment where that was welcomed at all sometimes. There's sometimes zero space for it. So as an adult, you're equipping yourself with that type of language so that you can thrive. Any other comments or questions about that? Okay, it goes back though, this is about awareness and choice. So when we come back to pause and we come back to awareness, naming our feeling that we're having, and then choosing to anchor and pull ourselves out of choice, that's what matters. So I'm going to have y'all do a visualization and a little bit of note taking. You're going to need a piece of paper. If you came unprepared, I have paper for you because I'm a mom. Does anybody need a piece of paper? Okay, so I'm going to give this to you and pass it around. Okay. If you don't have a pen, you're hosed. Ask a friend. Okay.
Can I have the
Yeah? Here, just take a stack and just pass it that way.
I got loads of
You gonna be sitting on that? It's a paperweight. 21st century paperweight.
This is serious paper too.
Has a tape on it? Yeah. Spare no expense.
Wait, are we taking one, passing it down on the pens, or?
I got a pen if you need one. Oh, yeah, I want a hardy one. Yeah. Obviously, I need a stylus. If anybody needs a pen, I got loads of them at home, so. Next time, you just have to come to the next event, that's all.
Okay, you get to set your pen down and sit back in your chair. I'm going to ask you to do a visualization for a couple of minutes. Get yourself comfy. Rest your hands where they want to hang. I'll watch the door so that no one wild pops in. All right, friends, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take you through a visualization. We're going to really get into a time in your life where there was a moment where all cylinders were firing. Maybe it was a period in your life. Maybe it was a moment where you were persevering. Maybe it was through a challenge, because the moments that resonate with us are not always the pretty ones. But the reason why I'm going to have you bring this up and visualize it is to really create a clear inner landscape picture of it, okay? So close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths. First, I'm going to take you through some breath work. So as you're sitting here, feel free to make yourself comfortable, however you need to do that physically, and just bring your awareness to what's happening in the inside of your body, what sensations you're feeling. Begin to breathe. Take a big inhale through your nose and let an exhale go. Do that again. And acknowledge as you breathe and as you settle into this place that your sensations and what you experience internally shifts. Pay attention to the temperature of the air on your skin. Pay attention to the temperature within your body. And as you breathe in through your nose, acknowledge the temperature as it goes in and the temperature as it goes out. We talked about recalling a moment in your life where all cylinders were firing. It's memorable. Maybe you were with someone doing something, but it felt like a place where a real true part of yourself was showing up and was present fully. This doesn't have to be a time of a great accomplishment. It can just be a place or a moment or a span of time. And once you have that in your mind, just acknowledge, what were you doing? And what was your pace like? Were you moving slow, sitting still, or quickly? And as you're in this visual space, what do you see around yourself? What was the environment like? Structures, weather. As you look around and take in the weather and what you were experiencing in that moment, what was it all about? And why was it important to you? What was the energy of your voice? And what did you know in that place? Maybe there's some acknowledgement while you're in there about how this space, this moment, has contributed to who you are now. Take a couple more deep breaths while you're there and take in the space. Anything else I may not have asked you that you want to capture? Take one big inhale through your nose, exhale out of your mouth. Blink your beautiful eyes open, and let's just take 2 minutes to capture that on paper. You can use bullets, you don't have to use sentences, you could draw a sketch, whatever your brain does is solid. Try to extract all of the details that you can. Colors, weather, people, why, what. What did you know in that place? Don't worry, nobody cares about your paper. Keep writing. I'm going to pass around a paper while you're writing. It's a list of values. I'm going to talk with you about them. You're going to find on this paper or in your beautiful brain, I'm going to have you guys share one, okay, because I think I'm running low. between 3 and 6 from the list. And I'm going to ask you before you go in to circle them, I just want to give you a couple of tidbits. All right, are we at a pausing place? So friends, I'm going to ask you first to acknowledge that when you look at values and what they mean in your life, your values are your personal thumbprint. It's specific to you, and it has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else, nor the expectations placed on you from your upbringing and your personal life with people around you, etc. It's not at all in the should realm. It has everything to do with you digging and extracting something that is meaningful to you and then using that as fuel in your life. So I'm going to ask you to look at the list. If you have to share with a friend, please just do so. Circle 3 to 6 of the values that you see on the list. And if you don't see one that pertains to your story, that you are extracting from your story, let me back up. Through your experience and through what you've just written down, there's something that's underneath and within that. Okay, it was a time in your life that was important for a reason. What types of values from this experience are being expressed in this list? That's what you're looking for. 3 to 6. Don't overthink it. They'll probably jump off the page at you. Once you get your 3 to 6, take a glance at them, cut it down to 3, and put a star next to 3 of them. Would someone be willing to give me a 30-second share about their story?
Yeah, I will.
Thanks, Gordon.
So you just want to know what I was thinking?
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a time in my life, a period about 6 years ago. I still work out, but I was in like an extreme workout phase, and it was like anywhere from 2 to 3.5 hours a day, like extreme cardio and then weightlifting and things like that. But I just remember how I felt, like that high you get from working out. So like not the shaking when you work out, but that high you get when working out. You know, you just feel invincible.
Yeah.
So that I remember going on a lot of hikes at that period of time, and we still go hiking a lot. But it was just like I just remember like the sun and hiking and that like high of being outside and in nature and everything.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I heard discipline, and also he seems to have a real treasure for nature and being outside in the hiking realm, and also for his own health and vitality. What did you guys hear? Something. I know you have more. Come on. Little collaboration goes a long way.
Maybe he felt powerful.
Powerful, yeah, that's a good one. I know you're waiting with one.
What's that?
You have one, don't you?
I have one for who, him?
Yeah. What did you hear?
Driven.
Driven. Yeah. You were saying something.
Oh, I said resurrected.
Resurrected. Yeah. Challenged. Yeah. So those might be some that he could pull from and add to his list. I'm going to ask each of you to now just choose one. I know, it's the worst. You can choose 2, and then you can just choose to work with one right now. I'm a rule breaker too. Okay, so once you choose your one, I want you to draw a box on the paper, and I want you to draw that, write that value at the top of the box.
Like a big box?
Any size box will do. Yeah, rectangle, upside down triangle. So once you get that value in the box, I want you to personally identify, because right now it's just a word. And just a word is interesting, especially at like the start of the new year, when we ask ourselves, what's your word for the year? And some people really get into that. And then we wonder why it doesn't last 2 months beyond that. And it's because we do not personalize it. So if that were your word and you chose that value for some kind of reason, it doesn't mean that you have to be living it fully right now, but it's something that's in you and might be important to you. What are 3 more adjectives or words that you personally would use to describe that? If I said, may I look at yours?
Yeah.
What does harmony mean to you? Or inner harmony mean to you? And then Tom might write down a few adjectives underneath it about what that is. Like me personally, I would say peace, I would say fulfillment, and I would say alignment, but that's me. So it has to be you if you want it to count and be something you can rely on. So give 3 more additional words to that one value. And this is where the stretch comes in. So I want to ask you, on a 0 to 10 scale, how much are you living into that value in your current life? Go ahead and write the number down. On a 0 to 10 value scale, how much are you living into that value in your life? And be totally straight up with yourself, friends. You know, we can't always function at the upper limits too, because life is going to challenge us and present different things that are going to cause us to fluctuate. Oh, it's a party. That's a good song though. Okay, so yeah, good call. Okay, so a little more stretch now. If this were a 10 in your life, could you please list 3 things that might change? If this value that you have on here were a 10, just 3 things that might change in your life.
What if you want them to change, but they can't?
Exactly. So then you go back to what you cannot control and what you can control, and that's it. So what can you control about this, and how can you influence it? And if you want, we can play out loud too. Okay, let's go.
Okay, so my word is freedom. It's very important for me to be free in my ability to think, my ability to choose what I'd like to do, like whether it's in work or personal life. Like, I'm also with a fire department guy, so I'm
Yeah.
like, he's gone long periods of time. Like, see you later.
Yeah.
Which is important for me to have my own special like space, right?
Yeah.
To tune in and to be able to just get away from everything. But his mom lives with us right now. Freedom taken away. Like,
So, yeah.
what do I do? Like,
Yeah, it's a different conversation. Then you start thinking about, how can I personally create more freedom in my life? That's the question. And then you get to work writing that answer. And only you know that. But you can look at personal freedom in the way you structure your day. You could look at personal freedom in the time that you spend with your honey boo-boo outside of the house. You could also look at freedom to arrange your life outside of the home environment and what that looks like.
or put her on Match.com to get her out.
That too. That too.
She's 69, she's very nice, if anybody knows that.
So thank you for playing out loud. But yeah,
We're all sold.
we're all sold.
Not bitter at all.
At all. If you brought a 10 of that value to VYP group, when you come to Valley Young Professionals and you showed up with a level 10 at that value, what would change about how you show up here and what you do with your time here? Write down a couple of things. If this value were a 10 and it was impacting your professional actions, who you are being as a professional, what are a couple of things that would change? Write that down.
In professional?
In your professional life. Name one brave or wild thing that you could do to honor this value. Brave or wild. You got to go outside the box a bit. So like if mine is vitality, I might put one of those ice baths in my backyard and do a cold plunge every morning, but I hate cold, so I'm not going to do it. But if I wanted to and I were living it at a 10, I would probably try it, right? That would be wild for me. You're getting a check on my temperature right now. But what's one wild or brave thing that you could do in service to your value? It doesn't have to be daily. It could be a thing once. Anyone need help? Okay, and what's one super basic thing that you could do? A daily activity, something that could honor the value. Basic. And now imagine your life in segments. You have your professional life, your career. You have your relationships, you have your home life, you have all of the other areas that you would cut up and segment your life into being. So what 2 areas of your life would this specifically grow and improve? Write down your 2 areas of life that this would specifically grow and improve. You missed what's something wild you could do to honor this value, and what's something basic you could do to honor this value. Now, in one of those, in each of those areas, list one way that you could honor this value. So, like if you chose finances, you know, if that was your segment, what's one thing that you would do to max out and honor this value in that area? Who needs a stretch? Who needs support with one of the questions?
I'm just noticing sometimes it goes back to another answer, basically.
Yeah, reinforcing other things.
Did you ask the last question one more time?
Yeah, so in one of those 2 areas, you know, if you looked at your life in segments, family, home, career, finances, I don't know what your segments are, right? But if you looked at it in segments, health, which 2 of these segments would that value that you're working on really impact the most? And then once you figure that out, what's one thing that you could do in each of those segments in service to this? Okay, so who's going to share their wild thing? Because I don't know if I can leave today without knowing a couple of these wild things. Did anybody have a couple of wild or free ideas that you could do to grow your value? Yes?
I'll share mine. I have a master's degree in project management, so I would pursue a completely different career path.
Amazing. Which would be a hugely courageous endeavor. And also, considering your experience, undoubtedly that you would pursue and secure something really interesting. Yeah. A lot of people changing careers right now, redefining how they're spending their time, and of course, who they're spending it with. And it's really important to note that these different things don't just impact the areas of life that we're growing, they directly impact our relationships. Who you're spending time with, your friendships, who you're in relationship with. For me, with my children, how I communicate with them. It really touches everything, and it is a way of personal accountability. So that was a lot of processing in one bit, but I really wanted you all as professionals to have something that you can take with you from today that you can expand upon, and you can see what it's like when you really ask yourself some tough questions about what am I willing to do in this stretch, and what am I willing to lean into in order to develop a little more in this arena. When I spend time with clients, oftentimes we get really connected on what their current state of fulfillment is, and always it's a conversation of like, what's getting in the way, right? Or what you aren't you holding yourself accountable for, or what are you truly longing for? Because often stuckness is there, and then also there's desire and longing to create something else. and we all need support in figuring out where we want to stretch with it. I really do equip myself and every conversation that I have, including my children and my clients, as everybody is already naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. When we have a conversation with someone and we're already an equal, and I know that you have your best solution inside of your mind and it's just waiting to be tapped into, and through creative conversation we can get there, that's a really important place to be. Having conversations with people who believe that they're able to serve you your solutions on the platter is not a way of coming to a place for you to develop in a resonant way for your future. And that's all too often how it's been done in our lifetime. So that's what I honor about being in coaching. It even gives me a little chills as I talk about it, because it's a situation where I get to take my life expertise and this great faith in the people that I'm working with and trust that they have these amazing resolutions for themselves. Also, everybody is addressed as a whole person. So you have your profession, but that is only one tiny sliver of who you are. And everything that you do and who you are being impacts all of the relationships and the reach into your life, yeah? So I hope you can take these tools, this above the line, below the line, acknowledge some of your values, and maybe, who knows, throw on the 3 Ps and try it on sometime when you're in distress. And I want to invite each of you to personally work with me. I have a 6-week coaching series that I'm inviting you to. It's for 1/3 of my traditional investment with my clients. And I want to begin this week, Sunday the 15th of August. I'm passing you around a form here, and here's what I would be stoked on. If you could give me some feedback about your experience today and really contemplate doing 6 sessions one-on-one in the full investment of your personal and professional development, and then coming back together as a group and rocking this out again, seeing what you've discovered in the interim and using it as a bit of anchor points and motivation for you as you go forward. That's my big vision. That's what I would be really excited about to do with you. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to ask you to just take this and pass it down, and I'll collect the pile somewhere else. Thanks to you guys for just taking a couple of minutes to give me some feedback on here. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Does anybody have questions for her?
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being collaborative in your share and for being willing to go the stretch. Yeah, thanks, Paige.
We still have some time left, so I encourage you guys to mingle, network, see what this whole thing is set up for. And if you need to buy or sell a house, call me.